The video review will start in a few seconds, but if you're watching this on YouTube, remember, if you have a question, comment, or suggestion for me, you can post it on 3dgameman.com, and the link is provided below. Hello again, I'm Rodney Reynolds from 3dgameman.com, and welcome to another video review. Today I'm looking at the Thermaltake Evo Blue 2 850 watt power supply. A great looking box with lots of pictures, features, and specifications about the product on it, so if you are picking it up in store, that will help you. Notice as well that it's wrapped in plastic. Now let me open it up and let's see what's inside. Included is a product warranty policy, information sheet, a bag which has the power cord, some cable ties, as well as black screws for mounting the power supply in the case, a pouch which has the modular leads in it, and they are in a plastic bag, and the power supply, which they have wrapped up in this foam bag to protect it. There's also some protective plastic here on their logo, and there's foam at the bottom of the box to protect it. Now the Evo Blue 2 line of power supplies are currently available in 3 wattages, 650, 750, and 850. I'll be reviewing the 850 watt model today. Now how is this wattage determined? Well, to understand that, you need to know what rails are. And rails are basically well-regulated transformers which convert domestic current into the voltage that your computer system can use. And there are essentially 2 different rails, the 3.3/5 volt rail and the 12 volt rail. Now in this particular case, the approximate maximum peak output of the 3.3/5 volt rail is 100 watts, and the 12 volt rail is 840 watts, which is essentially how the wattage of this power supply is determined. Now the 3.3/5 volt rail is responsible for the motherboard, memory, PCI cards, and so on, while the 12 volt rail is responsible for the hard drives, optical drives, fans, CPU, video cards, etc. It's also important to know the peak amps on each rail, and the plus 3.3 volt and the plus 5 volt rails are 20 amps each, and this power supply has a strong single plus 12 volt rail which is 70 amps. Now before you just race out there and purchase a power supply without any consideration, there are a number of important things to remember when selecting a power supply. The first is wattage. You need to determine how much wattage you are going to require by the amount of hardware that you will be installing. Now generally speaking, a medium to high-end gaming rig would require a 500 to 700 watt power supply. For a hardcore system, select a power supply that's around 800 watts. If, however, you are building an extreme gaming rig with a top-of-the-line multiple video card setup with lots of other hardware, select a power supply that's 1000 watts or greater. Second, it should be at or above 80% efficiency at typical load, and that's not a problem for this power supply because its efficiency is up to 92%. Third, it should meet the latest ATX and other current standards, environmental directives, over voltage, under voltage, and other protections, and thankfully this power supply meets all current standards. Fourth, I'd recommend choosing a power supply that has APS-C. APS-C stands for Active Power Factor Correction, and it assists the power supply in being more efficient and therefore stable under load. APS-C basically reduces total harmonics, it corrects input voltage, and allows for full input voltage range, and this power supply does come with APS-C. Fifth, there are 3 main certifications, 80+, NVIDIA SLI, and AMD Crossfire. Now many of today's high-end power supplies will meet one or more of these certifications, and this power supply meets the 80+ gold certification. 6, look for a power supply that uses Japanese capacitors because this ensures a much more reliable product than a power supply with low-grade capacitors, and thankfully this power supply uses 100% 105 degrees Celsius Japanese-made electrolytic capacitors and solid-state capacitors. Finally, get a power supply that has enough leads for your particular setup. Also consider a power supply that has a modular design because it reduces the cable mess inside the case. It's also very important to get a power supply with an excellent warranty, and this one comes with a 5-year warranty. warranty. Now this power supply has a black paint finish. It is not textured, so it possibly might scratch if you don't be careful. Some power supplies have this really tough textured paint finish, which I prefer personally, but hey, it's still a fantastic job that they've done on this. The housing is steel, by the way, and they include a very quiet 140 millimeter fan. Notice the honeycomb ventilation, lots of ventilation here as well, and this should really keep the power supply cool in just about any environment. Now note that the Claire 140 millimeter fan that they include will remain running around 15 to 30 seconds after the system is shut down. This is to dissipate the heat remaining inside of the system. Now, not all, but many of today's power supplies that are brand name and pretty good quality like this one will have this feature, and it's excellent. Here's the power cable connection, power switch, and a turbo button. So if you want a bit more power up to 100 watts, you can press this. It won't be green anymore, but still, if you, for example, install some more hardware and you think you might need a bit more power, well, you have this option. Now this power supply isn't 100% modular, as the main motherboard leads are hardwired and can't be removed, but still most of the leads are modular. And you know what? Being modular is fantastic because you only need to use the leads required for your particular setup, which reduces the cable mess and thus increases airflow inside the case. And all of these leads are flat and flexible. And connecting these modular leads to the power supply is literally a snap because everything is color-coded and labeled. Now have a look and a listen at the LED 140 millimeter fan, keeping in mind that the fan speed will increase in speed as the power supply's wattage increases. Note that there is some humming coming from the power supply, and this is not the fan, so I'm not quite sure exactly what's going on here. Probably it's not drawing enough current, and if I press the turbo button at the back, it will turn off the LED, so that's an option. If I press it again, it will go into turbo mode. Red LEDs will come on, and the fan will max out. And as you can hear, that humming, which was in the default standard mode, is not in the turbo mode. So again, I believe that's an issue with draw. Now, how does this power supply stack up against the many others that are currently on the market? Well, performance-wise, it's pretty much on par with other 850 watt 80 plus gold certified power supplies. But it does have a bit of a different look as well. Lots of ventilation. Nice clear 140 millimeter fan. That is super quiet. It has that turbo button, which you don't find on a lot of power supplies. As well, it has this semi-modular design along with flat flexible cables, and this power supply also comes in at a really good price point. Now within the Thermaltake series of power supplies, this one falls at the bottom of the enthusiast category. However, below the enthusiast category is the performance, and below that is the value. So this one is somewhere in the middle, with the Tough Power, the Tough Power XT, and the Tough Power Grand being above this one. So that gives you some idea where this one lies within the Thermaltake power supply series. Now, as for that humming noise that's coming from the power supply, it could be a number of things. It could be a defective unit. It also could be the Econo non-turbo mode, because when I switch it to the turbo mode, it is fine. I will find out from Thermaltake what is up with that and report back. But all things considered, this is a great product. Until next time, take care. I hope you enjoyed this video review, and please note that pricing for this product is available on the 3D Game Man video review page.